Welcome to the Restoration Psychology Podcast. In today's episode, Dr. Pei, Jason, Stacy, and Tyler sit down to talk about who they are, why they do what they do, and how they ended up in this field. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we hope you enjoy this episode.
To the weary, the hurting, and the hopeful, welcome to the Restoration Psychology Podcast, where we invite you to rest, heal, and restore. This is a podcast that we want to put together to talk about various different things within the world of psychology and mental health as we sit around and talk about those topics as people trained in psychology, in counseling, but also as we're just humans who have to wrestle through these things as well as the people who we're meeting with. We're going to have various different topics that we come out with on these episodes, but this is kind of the first episode, if you will. And what we want to do is just introduce you a little bit to some of the members of our team who are going to be in these various podcasts. And what we want to do with this episode is kind of give you why should you listen to what we might have to say on any given topic. So we want to kind of give you a little bit of an idea of why would you want to tune in? Why would you want to listen? So who I have here with me is, I'll let you guys actually introduce yourself. I won't go around the room and do it. My name is Jason.
Stacy.
I'm Jessica Pei.
Tyler.
So what I want to do a little bit here is talk about how you guys got into psychology. Why did you choose it as a profession? And usually I would, on these next episodes, I'll let you guys kind of answer the question. I kind of want to answer this one first. If
Sure.
that's
Yes. Yeah, go for it.
So I got in a rather weird kind of route into the world of counseling. I was going through the eldership process at our church. The elders wanted me to do something that would further my theological education when I became an elder. So they said, we want you to be an elder, but we also want you to grow in your theology. I had no idea what I would take. They wanted me to take some kind of class at a seminary, and I didn't have a master's at the time and had no idea what I would take. But there was this lady in our church body who, from the moment that we planted in 2008, would come to me every 3 to 4 or 5 months and say, Jason, I think the Lord may have gifted you to counsel. And I'd be like, yeah, no.
No thanks, the Lord. No thanks, Lord.
Not feeling that one. Or she'd come back then like 3 or 4 months later and go, have you considered counseling?
What the Lord has said. You didn't consider it.
No. Because I, at the time, didn't consider that she might have real prophetic giftings. And now I believe that lady actually has real prophetic giftings. So with that kind of backdrop, when the elders at the time said, we'd like for you to take something to further your theological education, I was like, well, I don't know what else to take. So I guess I'll take something at a seminary that would be in the counseling world. So I took a class called The Dynamics of Biblical Change, and I loved it. You had to do a self-counseling project in there, and I did mine. I'd always had to that time, had bad relationships with food and how I use food for comfort. And so I did my project, my self-counseling project, based on that.
That's cool.
And I saw real change in my interactions with food. Not perfection, mind you, but real change. I was like, whoa.
It does work.
So I took another class. And then I took another class. And then I started dreaming about starting and leading a counseling ministry at the church I was at. So it was absolutely that lady pouring into me, or coming back with what she felt like the Lord was being faithful, or being faithful to what she felt like the Lord was calling her to do, by coming and asking me, hey, I think I see counseling gifts in you. I think the Lord might want you to consider counseling. And it took me years to go, okay. So how about you guys? Why psychology? How'd you get into it?
Let's go around in a circle.
Sure.
Stacy can go next.
I was actually thinking about this timeline-wise, maybe 15 years ago, where I was at in life at that time. I just in my undergrad, was in my grad program. I was working at the higher education institution that I went to undergrad for. It was a small private Christian college. And I, at that time, 15 years ago, I thought I was contemplating, should I switch to an MBA? I was doing work around like community agency, nonprofit connection work. I was overseeing like 12 programs, had 70 students I was overseeing as student employees with different budget things. And I liked it. I liked being the boss to all these people and these 12 programs and doing all these really fun things. And so I think I thought at that time I was going to work in corporate something America, or I don't know what I thought, but something along those lines. I did not think I was going to be a therapist or in mental health or even like in ministry in the way that I am now. So God has a sense of humor. About 10 years ago, I at that time had to stop working and became a stay-at-home mom overnight to a kid with special medical needs. And I think, and if I look back at my life, that was probably the season when a lot of things started like unravel or changing and shifting to lead me down this direction to where I am today. I think that's the first time I really could coherently in my adult life say that I was experiencing grief and suffering and hardship, and it didn't align with like, well, if you work hard, input in, output should be good in life kind of formula that I had thus far. Now I look back, it was pretty privileged kind of thought process to have. But that was kind of when it started. And even then, though, I think if you would say, hey, in 10 years, you'll be sitting here as a therapist, working with therapists, I'd have been like, no, probably not. So there's a theme of denial, I guess, that's going on here. So I, was doing that. And then fast forward 2019, I moved to Colorado, and I was like, I do think I want a second career change. Not sure what that is. But I was connecting with some folks at my church, and there were some serious issues around suicidal ideation, self-harm for a lot of families that I was like, I am not equipped to handle this but I kind of want to be equipped to handle this. And so I was looking back at like, why did I start in education and end up here? How did that happen to me? And I remember the one class I loved the most in my undergrad was the psychology class around human development. And I loved that class. And I was like, well, maybe that was a sign. But like just these little nuggets throughout my life that I'm like, now I'm like, oh, it makes sense how I got here. One of my favorite theories in careers counseling was the happenstance theory of like, it just happens sometimes that life kind of pans out this way. You end up where you are, which for me and my personality is like so not what I actually like, but has really been the story of my life and my career. So that is where I am today. And now I look and I'm like, this is really where I should be. But didn't realize it. So that's mine. Yeah.
Do you have a theme of denial?
Of course. Of course, always.
It has to keep going around the room. If it ends.
Just kidding.
Theme of denial. That is in my whole life, but I'm not sure about professionally. Let me think about this. So I grew up in an immigrant home, and when my parents immigrated, I think Korean children can be one of two things. It's a doctor or a lawyer. I got two options. And so I was told as a young child that I've always been argumentative and always had opinions. And I never really, I would actually always tell my parents no, but I would do everything that they said, right? And still to this day, if anybody tells me to do anything, my answer is usually no, but I always do what I get myself to do it eventually. So I was like, I guess I'll be a lawyer, because they're like, you're so argumentative. Why don't you be a lawyer? So I went to undergrad, decided to study psychology because I wanted to understand criminals and their minds so that I could be a prosecutor. District attorney was the goal that I had. And then
Not
maybe
president?
one day,
Just kidding.
the president thing was when I was in kindergarten. That's a whole different story.
Don't let her fool you. It's still today.
It's
It's still there somewhere.
Nobody
today.
wants me to be president. But so that's kind of where the journey started. I started to study psychology, but while I was there, I kind of realized that law was not the best fit with my personality, because I have always had a strong desire to fight for justice. And that's been the theme around my life. But I worked with some attorneys, and I just didn't feel like it would be a good personality fit. And while I was in undergrad, I had all of these like really special opportunities that I would say other people weren't able to have. I was selected to be an intern at Children's Hospital. That was kind of a unique thing to be able to do when you were in undergrad. and worked with a lot of kids there who had suicidal ideation or came from horrific trauma backgrounds. And I always had this like question mark and like, why am I here? And we also did a lot of research. So did a research study about like religious cognitions and how that could change your cultural tolerance or your death anxiety. And so doing all these things, I was like, why am I just doing all these things? Because I was just trying to understand criminals. And my heart for especially children and growing strong families really grew. When you study psychology in undergrad, so I studied psychology, leadership studies, and business. Okay, when you do that, there's not actually many jobs you can get with a BA in psychology.
Unfortunately, yeah.
And I was one of the first in my family to navigate the educational system in the U.S. So I was just leading myself into who knows what. Okay, and looking back, I can totally see God's hand in provision in it all. But when you graduate, you could work at Nordstrom or some retailer, which some of my friends did. Looking back, I should have done that because I got some good discounts. However, or worked in a nonprofit space, and the job I got was to work at a residential treatment facility with kids who were abused and abandoned and fell out of the foster care system. And I would say that those 2 years of working there was more life-changing than anything I'd experienced. The kids there were struggling with what we would call like they were emotionally disturbed and suffered from horrific traumas. And my job was to show up and be essentially their mom and caregiver and counselor every day. And it was so hard, but so life-changing. And parts of it have to do with my own story and come from some brokenness in my own family that was pretty hidden. It wasn't socially acceptable, especially in kind of immigrant culture, to be talking about that. So I think while God was like allowing me to work in spaces with these kids and being more in touch with my own story, because there was a lot of denial from the outside in. I did have the picture perfect family. Both my parents were serving at church. We did all the right things, but behind closed doors, there was a lot of chaos. So maybe that theme of denial is there. And I just felt very called. Oh, and wherever and anywhere I go, people always tell me their mental problems. Like this was ever since I can remember. Yes.
Wow.
Like even as a kid, people would tell me all their secrets. And I was like, what's going on? There's actually a running joke now that all my friends, if we go into any space, they'll be like, okay, Jessica's gone in a corner with somebody found her and is telling them all her problems. So I think that like just listening, caring for people in that way was something natural. And then all of these different pieces of the story came together, and I ended up, you have to either be a lawyer or doctor. So I decided to go to a doctoral program. And funny thing, the comment that they made is that, well, when I first started studying psychology, they're like, that's just an MRS degree. And I did not love that because I was like, I'm going to prove them wrong.
What's
MRS?
MRS?
Married. Like,
yeah,
I've never heard that before.
Yeah. Yes. Offensive, but anyway.
Offensive that I've never heard.
Ironic in some way. No, that someone would say that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when I decided to get my doctorate, many people's comments were, "Why don't you become a real doctor?"
Yes.
Because in our culture, it's like you got to be MD or a lawyer. I look back at all that and I kind of laugh because I see like so much of this. I can say without a shadow of a doubt that the reason why I was created and made was to be a psychologist, and I take profound like joy and honor in that because all of the good, bad, broken things in my life has kind of led me to this place. And as I'm aging and getting older, it's really cool to like take a stance of reflection and to look back around like, okay, like all of those things, even the hard stuff, even the things that sucked like were made we're going to be redeemed for something beautiful. And I think that is kind of what has allowed me to be a pretty decent psychologist.
Awesome.
I gotta follow that.
I'm so glad I'm not following.
Yeah.
Good luck, Tyler. Just kidding.
I think similarly in high school, I was the one friend that everyone talked to about their stuff and all the friendship drama and things like that. I was a good listener. And then in high school, the one class I enjoyed and actually did well in was my AP psychology class. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. This is interesting.
let's go get a psychology degree. But then, kind of a similar question of what do you do with a psychology bachelor's degree? It's like really nothing. And then I was like, okay, so then what can I do afterwards? Looked into a master's program. I grew up internationally, so I'm not from the States. I came to the States for my undergrad, and then was just kind of looking at different grad opportunities afterwards. And I was like, oh, there's counseling programs. There's like the doctorate, PsyD program. There's a marriage and family therapy program, and there's a clinical mental health counseling program. And then I was looking at all these things, and I was like, which one is the easiest? And the marriage and family therapy program at the time had a 48-hour credit requirement for the whole program, and then the CMHC program was a 60-hour credit requirement program, and I was like, I'm going to pick the 48 one. Yeah, and that's it. Boom, that's how I ended up here. Well, and I guess I interned at a church as like the youth intern for a little bit back in Singapore. And during the time, worked with the middle schoolers, high schoolers, worked with the kids, had a heart for them, and even in working with them, saw that when they would go home or they would still kind of, go back to broken systems or, challenges, and nothing would ever actually change. And so I think that kind of led me down the path of looking more into like a systemic change perspective. And that is a part of what led me to the marriage and family therapy program, to be fair. And also that it was only 48-hour credit requirement. I was like, great, this is perfect.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I want to acknowledge that expertise can be an odd thing to talk about, because it can sound like you're just bragging. But for the purposes of like people listening to our podcast, I think it helps to know like some sort of expertise or what makes you an expert in the field. So I'd love to hear from you all. What about you? What about your training? It can be like various different things. What makes you an expert in the field of psychology or counseling?
I mean, I think within our field, at least in the States, there is a degree to which you get a degree, but there are degrees to which your expertise is based on your training.
Okay.
So, and I think you're alluding to like the idea of, because in my mind, it'd be nice if we hit this threshold and now you are an expert forever and you're just done. But that's not how any field works, and especially not our field.
Great point.
You're always growing.
Yeah,
so your expertise, though it may be here at one point, should continue to grow. That's what makes a strong clinician over time, is continued training, continued competence, continued growing, and that's built into our different licensure requirements or different levels. So, I mean, Tyler, you can share more too, but Tyler and I are both at master's level training, and so we are like graduate. You have to have a graduate degree. You can't do anything with undergrad psychology.
Well, then we have like a different degree even, right?
Yes.
So like, you have
different focuses.
Yeah. So like I have a marriage and family therapy degree, a master's of arts in marriage and family therapy, and then by license I'm a marriage and family therapist.
Yeah. And for me, I am on the track to be a licensed professional counselor, which is that's what it's called in our state. So we're both master's level trained. We have the internship training, we have the clinical training, and the growth that we have in our program to get us to be where we are. We both have different accrediting groups, bodies that govern our respective, professions, and so we have to abide by their requirements with our training and our licensure and all the different things. And so you can't just walk in and I'm a really good listener, makes me a good therapist, and that's it, right? Like there is different levels of training. There's different levels of trainings for that. And there's one other level, master's, social work is the other level within our same level of training. But and I'll let Dr. Pei speak to the psychologist kind of route.
Because she's a doctor.
Because she's the doctor. She's
Not
the
a real one.
MRS.
When
you said it, I was like, that's a master's I've never heard of. Seriously, that's what I was thinking. That's why I said, like, what is that?
Nope.
Even I've heard of that. And
it's
I grew
Christian
up like
college world. I think you hear it more.
Is.
Like Wheaton, Azusa Pacific. Yeah, you hear that a lot.
I didn't go to any of those schools for undergrad.
So
I still heard it.
Oh, that's true.
It's a very secular school. What is my expertise? This is a question I deeply
What different things make you an expert?
hate. How I would answer that question in the past is I would say humans. Humans are my expertise. And part of that has to do with my kind of like desire to be able to be equipped to serve multiple people. And especially when I first started the journey in graduate school, I think I had a really big desire to serve underserved populations, especially ethnic minorities. And there was not a lot in that time frame. There was a few people that were before me, but there was not a lot of people of color in the field. And so part of the burden that I felt, and it could be burden / neuroses, was that I wanted to be able to be, I really hesitate to say this, but I really did at the time want to be all things to all people, and that I would be equipped to serve people from all ages for whatever problem there was. And part of that was because I really desired to serve ethnic minority people and there weren't a lot of resources. So I took every class imaginable in grad school. I think most people would choose a child and family track, or they would choose an adult track, or they would choose geriatric. And I was like, I'm going to do it all. The only thing I didn't do was neuroscience, but I was like, I will take every class. I'm going to take every opportunity to be the best psychologist I can be. That has a lot to do with my personality too. So that's kind of how it started. Yeah. So genuinely, I would say that I've been privileged enough to have a lot of various experiences. And then on top of that, I've worked in a lot of hospital and medical facilities to have a kind of unique lens in health psychology. So the people who come to see me, probably because I am a psychologist, some of them have pretty complicated mental health struggles. Some people kind of struggle with coexisting health issues, and then grief, loss, diversity, and kind of looking more at like the system, right? So not just like a child, but how do I work with a child and the family? So a lot of systems work, probably the things that I would say. And then as a psychologist, and maybe another area of specialties that we do some psychological testing, educational testing that I really enjoy. It's kind of like being a detective. At one point in my life, I wanted to be in the FBI, but it's like being a detective and taking all of the puzzle pieces and trying to have a comprehensive picture to understand where people are coming from.
Yeah.
And I'm over here telling everybody that I'm picking the least amount of credit hours to take.
Different personalities, then.
Different personalities. Much different jobs for people.
Do you feel like the desire to want to be all things to all people, or like the whole jack of all? Because like growing up, I was like known as like a jack of all trades, expert at none type of thing. I'm like, is that like an immigrant thing? Is that like like we have to be good at everything?
It was for sure an immigrant me thing.
Sure.
I think because there was such a lack of resources, or what I perceived as a lack of resources. But what I realized is that I can't actually do everything. So now I've just created a really good team around me to be able to do that. Yeah. No, thank you.
Thanks for hiring us.
Yeah, that we need a lot of different people to be able to serve the community at large, and that burden. I think it was foolish of me to think that burden could just fall on me.
Sure.
But surrounding myself, or with people who are really good at what they do, has allowed restoration to be that for our community.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to add to like expertise stuff?
Well,
yeah, I know you talked a little bit
Kinda
before about like.
Oh, sure.
Any other thoughts from you?
Well, I guess like expertise wise, like my education was in marriage and family therapy, so I guess I'm an expert in marriage and family therapy because I learned about it in school, and I spent 2 years, and I graduated, and I passed, and I got a degree, and I got a license, right?
That's right.
So I'm like, I know something. I know enough. I know enough. And I think just given experiences, internships, and that's like a lot of it too, right? It's just like the work that I've actually done with clients, further education, continuing education stuff for my licensure, passion projects. I would say I'm an expert with kids, couples, and families. Right? I can work with individuals, for certain things. I think how that shows up is maybe more like identity development, personality development stuff. Parts of it is reflected in just like my personality, who I am, how I show up with clients. So I would say kids, couples, families. If I had to like really say, all right, I'm an expert at this, that's what I would say.
I think we tried to do the math, and collectively we have over 50 years of experience in this room. And then if we include everybody else on the team, it would be probably closer to 80.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Those numbers sound right.
Yeah.
Those numbers sound right.
Yeah.
For myself, most of what I do when I was at the church that I was at or in my counseling here, most of it is faith-based questions that people have around what they're walking through. So most of my counseling is of a kind of faith-based or pastoral nature. Because of that, and this might sound really cliche, but I think it's true, so I don't really care what people think about this. Although I'm caveating it, so clearly I do. What makes me an expert, I think, is I actually believe what I'm trying to encourage people to believe. That I counsel from a faith-based Christian perspective. I actually believe that Jesus is real, that he died for me. And when it says, like, he loves me, I truly believe that to the core of who I am. And I don't think I have a whole lot else. I mean, I have lots of training, but to me, with what I usually talk with people about, that's the expertise. That's the greatest expertise I have, is I actually genuinely believe it's real, and I can offer you something that I genuinely believe is real. And so I think that's, for me, like what makes me an expert in whatever it is I'm walking through, but it's usually of a faith-based nature. So anyway, this is maybe just a fun, we'll see where this conversation goes. What's your Enneagram number? Because in some circles, Enneagram is a hot thing, has been for a while. What's your Enneagram number, and how does that show up for you?
What we really should do is have our listeners listen to our podcast and guess.
But
this is episode 1.
So I guess that's true.
You already said you like to challenge
I
things.
do.
They already know what you are.
So I'm an Enneagram 8.
And like that's like, what's the word? The phrase for that?
The phrase for that is either the challenger or the leader.
Okay, how does that show up for you?
Who
How
calls
do
it
you
the
usually-
leader?
Who calls it the leader?
Oh, a lot of other
Oh,
There's
really?
different
Circles,
streams of
yeah.
Enneagram.
People named Jessica Pay.
just me.
I was like, you have like the challenger, and it's like, whoa, and then you have like the leader. I'm like, are you calling
Different vibe.
yourself that?
No, it's actually out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't know how to quote where it's at, but it is out
It's
there.
in the research.
It's somewhere.
How do you usually show up as Nate?
I feel like that's a question for other people to answer about me. But
Denial. Challenging.
I do think, like what I said earlier, is that anytime I hear ideas, I tend to see the holes in the ideas, to kind of challenge, to make things hopefully better, right? I think that, that's a long question to answer, but I think we should have everybody answer this first.
Their
Okay.
Enneagram number.
Yeah.
Fair. All right. Go
I
for
can
it.
go.
You go ahead.
Okay. I'm an Enneagram 3. I did not know Enneagram until around pandemic time.
Okay.
One of my close college roommates and friends, she decided to make this virtual like Zoom book club group of women from across the country and different folks that we knew, and we started to go through. It's Yellow, Ian Morgan Cron. Anyway, there's an Enneagram book that we went through, and I guess like Enneagram, you can take a test, but they say like the purest way of doing Enneagram is like reading all the types and figuring out which one resonates the most with you, and then you can kind of check and see. But usually what resonates with you is like the weak points of your Enneagram number, I think. And so I remember reading the 3 and being like, no, I'm not this one. Like, then I was like, oh no, I am a 3, and like coming to terms with like all the best of a 3 and all the hard parts of a 3. And the idea being like, right, our goal in life is to become an integrated individual. Like, but for whatever reason, your life story, your childhood wounding message, you got kind of stuck in your number and like kind of reacted that way in the ways you did. And so it's been a fun journey.
3 is the achiever.
The achiever. So that part I was like, yeah, that's probably true for most of my life. Is it an immigrant background thing? Is a personal? I think probably both. But yeah.
Me? You? You? Me?
I'm the one that tries to do the least amount of work as possible. I'm a 9. Yeah.
What's that one called again? The 9?
The peacekeeper.
The peacekeeper. That's right.
Peacekeeper. Other people call it the peacemaker, but I'm the peacekeeper.
Because peacemaking takes too much
A lot of
energy.
a lot of conflict required.
Okay, I'm a 2. 2 on the Enneagram. So
Which is the helper.
A helper.
Right.
Yep. What are some of the best sides of your Enneagram?
Okay, I can give a story of Jason being in a 2. Okay. So my office is the closest to our kitchen in our office. And so there was one morning where I literally had a bowl of food and I was like walking towards my door. And I'm klutzy sometimes. So I like stumbled or something and all the food literally fell on the floor. And I literally was like, oh shoot, I dropped my food. And Jason was walking past my office, but I didn't like realize he was there. But like literally in the blink of one eye, he was on the floor picking up my food. But I didn't realize he was just right there. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then literally he's right there picking it. I was like, what?
It's like a call for Superman. It's
Yes.
like, someone needs help.
And he literally showed up. And we had talked about him being a 2. And I knew he was a 2, but I like literally experienced it. I was like, wow, you're calling for that day. You fulfilled it. I mean, he was just such a helper. So it shows up in lots of ways that people appreciate. But that was one of my funny stories with Jason. But yeah.
Is that what are we doing? Are we doing that now? We're telling like.
I guess.
I guess we went there. Like the best of your number, though, right? Like where it shows up.
Yeah. I think so. Because I'm gonna ask about the shadow side too.
Sure.
So I'll just mention maybe the shadow side of that is like.
You don't want us to talk about your shadows? I'm just kidding.
No. I want to help, but then there's also a sense that like I need people to need my help, and so
when they don't, or it seems like they don't need,
then
your
it's
help.
hard. Then it's like it kind of can shake your identity if your identity is not rooted somewhere else. I actually have this joke. You guys have probably heard me say it around here. Help me to help you to help me.
It's too much
So true.
A lot of helping.
Yes.
That's a lot of work.
Tyler doesn't do that.
No.
Too much work.
What are some of the light or that you can talk about like the shadow sides of your Enneagram and how that works out for you?
It's either or, yeah.
Maybe we should do this for other people because it is easier to talk about. I'll talk about Tyler. I think that one of the main reasons why he is so good at being a family therapist is 9s have a really unique ability to see all people's perspective in a really clear and neutral way. So when he works with a family, there's like 5 people who are hot and heavy coming in. He can really calmly provide peace because he generally stays very regulated and can provide perspective in clear ways. I actually think that's his role on our team too, is that he can clearly provide feedback and take a lot of different perspectives to help us kind of go down a clear direction. If he cares. When he cares.
Yeah. But when you care, you
Cares a lot.
care. Like you really do deeply care. And that's pretty evident on our team.
And then if I don't, I really don't.
I really don't.
But it's clear. There's no ambiguity in that.
Yep.
Yeah.
If I care about something, you'll know it. If I don't care about something, you'll know it too.
Yeah.
You can't get me to care about it either.
It's okay. It's healthy boundaries. Yeah.
I was thinking about when you said, when we were poking fun at you earlier for saying leader, I was actually thinking like everyone knows who the leader of this organization is.
Owner, boss,
founder.
That's because I have some titles to it.
creator,
lead a kicker. Like everyone knows who's leading this venture.
Yep.
But you do it with a humility, which is I think the healthy part of you being an 8. You do it with humility and care and checking to make sure that everyone around you is still healthy and doing well. But there's no doubt about who is leading this practice. Vision wise, mission wise, where we're going, what we're doing, there's no doubt.
It's Dr. Pay, right? Yeah.
I was talking about Tyler.
Dr. Pay. I just say for everybody listening, it's Dr. Pay.
He's looking its direction.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
Doctor.
Yeah.
I never really
Pay.
said who I was looking
That's
at.
true. I do think there's a lot of safety in that too for us, right? Like we kind of know that you care deeply. I think one of the ways that I see your 8 challenger be really, really positive, a lot of clients sort of like, a lot of word of mouth is kind of how a lot of our clients find us. But one of the things, whether you like it or not, that people talk a lot about is like, oh, she's really direct. And that's like, if you need direct therapists, go to Dr. Pay. And I know sometimes that's like, you're like, why am I that person? But I think I don't know many people who challenge the way you do with the love and depth of care that you do. Because if someone just challenges without love or depth or empathy or compassion, it's annoying. It just becomes like really hard to hear. But I don't know someone who, I know sometimes I don't love to hear that, or a client might not love to hear that, but you really do so out of like love and because you want better for them. Yeah. And so I really see that show up both, I'm sure in therapy and that's what clients talk about, but also and on this collaborative team. Like collaboration is a really big value for you, and I can see that really show up as an 8 that you are.
Thank you for all this. I think the shadow side of an 8 is that they can be perceived to be controlling. Part of that is not because they actually like control, is that their deepest fear in life is to be controlled. So if that part is not checked, they can come off as kind of mean or controlling, or can steamroll people. And that is something that I have to constantly be mindful of, not to get into spaces like that. And I think when 8s are healthy, they kind of go to it too.
What were you going to say about 2s and their shadow side?
They turn into an 8.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But when 8s are healthy, they can kind of lean towards the 2 in health.
Oh, no way. We're all connected. Because for 9 in health, it's
9 and 3, we're all like the triangle.
Yeah. Because 9s move to 3s in health. So I can speak to Stacy of like, I want to be like Stacy, because I clearly don't do anything. But Stacy,
he does a lot.
I do some stuff, but on like for what I see in Stacy, like Stacy gets shit done. You like, right? Like if you want something done, don't go.
If you want stuff done fast,
yes,
and efficiently,
yes,
efficiently optimized,
yes.
you
go to Stacy.
You go to Stacy.
If you want it done like really, really well, but it might take some time, go to Tyler. Yeah.
Might take you 6 months versus versus
6 minutes.
Versus 6 minutes, Yeah.
So for time purposes, because we're kind of like bumping up against the end of our time here, I have a bonus question, but I'm only going to give it.
Well, that's not fair. Everybody has to
No, because we don't have time. I'm only going to give it to you. Give us your hot take within the world of mental health right now.
I'm only going to do this if everybody does it within 30 seconds.
Okay, it has to be fast.
Okay,
30 seconds.
So the hot take is, I think that a lot of people, we romanticize romantic love. Okay. And I think a bigger problem that I see many people in my office have is problems in friendship, right? That there's some growing literature about friendship, but a lot of the times when I'm working with people, especially in like grief and loss, there's been a loss of a friendship, not just a romantic relationship, and people aren't sure how to do that. And I would also say that a lot of the times people are craving good friendships, and that's what they deeply desire. And honestly, there's a lot of people who are not a good friend, right? And there's kind of a reciprocal process, and it's not to blame anyone, but there are a lot of reasons for why that has happened. But that would probably be my hot take, is that while we desire to have good friends, a lot of us don't want to put the work into being a good friend.
Right. All right. Since she said we're going to do it.
Yeah.
You got a hot take?
Okay, my hot take. I think with social media and how it's grown, like knowledge is much more democratized. And so therefore mental health is much, like people talk about that a lot more. And in that way, there's some benefit to that. Like there's a lot less stigma. I would even say like millennials, Gen Z have much more language for mental health and incorporate it into their like everyday existence. And I see a lot of my clients that would come to me and they'll talk about like a relationship issue and how they navigated that and how they sent this, message. And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, this is a really well-crafted apology and ownership, and I take ownership and that kind of thing. I didn't really hear that growing up, but that's much different now. However, I guess my hot take on this is we talk about mental health so much, and the average influencer on social media talks about it too. But we don't know how to always execute that knowledge into our everyday life. And so a lot of young people who know a lot and know how to sound like they are doing the most appropriate mental health thing to do, but there's sometimes a disconnect or an incongruence between how it shows up in their everyday life and what they know they should be saying and doing. And so people talk about like, oh yeah, I do therapy this, therapy that, or whatever. But sometimes I feel like maybe we've overextended what that looks like or how that can look like. And we're not actually, we may talk about it well, but doesn't mean we always do it well either. So
hot take.
me.
Can you come back to me? Can't think of one right now.
I have a hotter take.
Oh,
I think that exercise and good nutrition is more effective than medication. Thanks.
That okay? Just gonna
Great.
just mic
Right
drop.
there.
Hot take.
Okay. Gosh, hot
What's
take.
yours?
You really threw me off there with
Yeah.
that. Like, wow. I actually was gonna say I think the church needs to do a better job helping people understand the theology of embodiments. You totally threw me off. I would say broadly though, I think the church, because that's so much of my context, the church has to do a better job at understanding things in the mental health world. I think the average parishioner might be talking more about mental health, but I don't know that the church collectively, the Christian church anyway, collectively is talking a lot about mental health and how do we interact with it? How do we think about things biblically? That hasn't been my experience. I should say, I particularly my tribe has been the reformed circles of the Christian church. So that has been my context. I think particularly the reformed circles or the reformed tradition within the Christian church needs to do a better job of paying attention to see what can psychology offer us to help us love and care for people better.
Okay. My hot take is if you think you don't need therapy or you feel like you don't need therapy or you're resistant to the idea of therapy, you probably need therapy the most.
Probably need it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's my hot
That
take.
sounds
That's a good one.
Great.
Do you have one last hot or hottest take?
No.
Well, you probably
Yes, you do.
Not for this
You all-
episode.
Not for this episode.
Okay, save it for a future one. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We really hope that you enjoy some of these podcasts episodes that we have coming, and that we touch on topics that are going to help you as you rest, heal, and restore in your own life. So thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks for listening to the Restoration Psychology Podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you're seeking counseling or have any other questions, please contact us at restorationpsychology.com.